and that will be the next part of the study. But having done this review, I also find it interesting that many people have a very narrow or even flawed view of what is artificial intelligence. And being a neurosurgeon, and probably the only neurosurgeon, neuroscientist who's also leading a AI company, I took the liberty of saying that if you take a neuroscience point of view, intelligence is much more than an ability to learn, right? When you talk about AI, everybody talks about learning, machine learning, deep learning, and all of that stuff. Intelligence is an ability to perceive, learn, reason, adapt, and interact. At the end of the day, the job of intelligence is to manage complexity of life and survive, right? That is what intelligence is all about. Artificial intelligence aims to replicate that, right? So this flavor of AI is equal to ability to learn is not complete, right? So AI is much more than that, needs to be much more than that. And I'll just illustrate that through this slide, that there is a lot of development happening in at least 8 different domains of artificial intelligence. Let's just spend 2-3 minutes on this slide, and then I promise you this is the last heavy AI slide, and then we'll shift to the medical side of the story. A whole lot of work on vision. In fact, the computer vision field is at least a decade ahead of language field, which we'll come to in a minute. There was AlexNet was a sort of a CNN, a convoluted neural network that came out in 2012, 2013. The paper was published at that time, and by 2015, it started becoming better than humans, and now computer vision models are way better than humans in a lot of classification tasks, right? So not surprisingly, radiology and pathology systems have already developed quite successfully in taking these computer vision technologies, right? And a lot of them are in production, and a lot of them are impacting clinical work. The next big advance that has happened in the last 4 years or so, since 2019, is this emergence of large language models. And these have the ability to understand, interpret, and generate human language, right? If you go back 10-15 years, everybody used to laugh that, oh, AI will be very mathematical, it will be very analytical, it will never understand emotions. Well, guess what? Today, AI can write better poetry, it can compose better music, it can understand emotions in both video as well as written text. So we are all surprised by how quickly some of these capabilities have escalated. Then there is this familiar area of domain of data analysis. That stands to reason that the one sentence I'll say here is that you will know from your own experience that humans struggle to deal with data in more than 2 dimensions. We do this XY graph, right? We can study correlations, we can study linear temporal trends, etc., etc. You add a third dimension, then the mind starts to boggle. And okay, if you struggle really hard, you can understand things in 3 dimensions. You know what computer systems can do? They can deal with 1 million dimensions effortlessly, right? So that ability to deal with multi-dimensional data. So million dimensions, what does it mean, right? So suppose you take one patient, you make age 1 dimension, gender 1 dimension, symptom number 1 as a third dimension, symptom number 2 as a fourth dimension. You can create 1 million dimensions. And then you can compare patients across these million dimensions. Humans cannot, right? So there is a fundamental capability of data analytics that these large computer systems have, which humans cannot, and which actually allows us to use these AI systems to do things which humans, even given 1 million years, will not be able to do, right? Then there's a lot of stuff happening on auditory AI, ability to recognize, interpret, and generate speech and sounds. I talked about music. I mean, there is a thing called Suno.ai, if some of you want to play around with that. You type in a text that I want a song which is kind of like Duran Duran, but which has lyrics like Jay-Z and which has music like A.R. Rahman. You know what? It will give you something which is pretty close to these three things just through text. So Suno.ai is an amazing music generating tool that has come out and that illustrates the power of auditory AI. I'll go a bit more quickly now. So cognitive is the ability to replicate human thought processes such as reasoning, learning, problem solving. There is something called chain of thought processing that is happening now, and just now GPT released a new model called O1, and that actually is coming up
Yes.
with an IQ of almost 120, which is you all know that average human IQ is 100, right? So these systems are coming closer and closer to replicating the cognitive capabilities of most humans. Okay. uh, Emotions, I already talked about it. And the last two are what we call embodied AIs. All these blue things, they sit in some server. They don't have a physical manifestation. But when you talk about robotics or when you talk about geospatial AI, when you talk about AlphaFold predicting three-dimensional structures of proteins just by the gene sequence or the amino acid sequence of that protein, that then becomes an embodied AI, and that has its own sort of unique capabilities. So with this theoretical background, I'll quickly shift to, so okay, fine, all of that Gyan is fine. What does it mean for us clinicians now,
Wake me
right?
up in 10 minutes.
So there are two or
Wake me
three
up in
things
10
that I
minutes.
want to. I'm going to mute everybody actually. Yeah. So there are two or three things that I'm going to talk about, which are here and now, right? First of all, there is a tool called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Essentially, what this means is that you are able to provide a body of knowledge, say a Harrison's textbook of internal medicine, or a Robbins textbook of pathology, or 25 PDF documents to the system, and say, this is the knowledge that you're going to use to answer questions. So there are, we can't go into the deep mathematics of it, but there are things called embeddings, and there are mechanisms by which the AI can use this knowledge to and bring it to your fingertips at the point where you need that knowledge. So if you're a clinician, you want to make a decision support decision, it will bring that knowledge. If you're a patient, you ask a question, it will bring that knowledge to you. The second thing that is here and now is text to speech and speech to text. And I'll illustrate this real time when I do a demo. And that was part of the reason to do the demo. You cannot talk to agents, okay? And agents can understand you, and then agents can implement whatever you are asking them to do. So that opens up access to a much larger number of people than actually typing in things on a computer or even into your WhatsApp. Thirdly, multilingual is solved problem. Modern systems can understand Tamil, Telugu, Persian, Russian, you name any language, you type in that language, it understands it, and it can respond to you in that. I already mentioned digital twins briefly, and we have talked about some of this, right?